We've been around for 73 years. We only have had 3 CEOs. Human capital is the number one success or failure multiplier. Get to know the person. Let them put their guard down. Cost to continuously rehire is so high. The key to success is you have to put yourself out there. You can't go to these events and sit in the corner, have a drink, and people watch. That won't get you anywhere. Come on, go start talking to people.
Today, we are live on My Amazing GovCon Winners with Noel Teal. He is the Director of Permanent Placement with Robert Half. And I am so excited to have you here today.
I appreciate it. Equally excited to talk recruiting with you.
Yes, and this is such an important topic because for us in federal government contracting, as well as entrepreneurs who are thinking about getting into it, there's always this question of how do I find people to work in my company, as well as how do you find people to work for paid positions that maybe the federal government has. But before we jump into that, we got to know a little bit more about you.
Sure.
How did you even get into this Director of Permanent Placement, and what does that really mean?
How much time do you have? So my former life, I grew up in New York. I was a CPA. I worked for Ernst & Young, the Big Four global accounting firm. Did my time in public accounting. Had a great second job doing internal audit for Bristol Myers Squibb, the pharmaceutical company. And I got to travel the world on their dime, auditing operations everywhere from Singapore to Indonesia to Ecuador, to Italy. It was a phenomenal opportunity. And decided after about 10 years of accounting, after I got into a controllership role in Manhattan for a small company, entrepreneurial company, really found a little bit of an entrepreneurial itch myself. I think that's why you and I get along so well. And I opened up a gourmet seafood market and takeout restaurant in Wellington, Florida, called Captain K's Seafood. And for 2.5 years, we worked 7 days a week, every hour of the day. And, we'll make a long story short. We got a little bit clobbered by the competition with Whole Foods and, some of the other seafood markets that came into the area. And I went to Robert Half to go back to being a controller. And they said, why don't you come work for us? After I dropped my jaw off the floor, I told them 5 years ago I would have laughed at you, but right now I have a 1-year-old and a wife that would love for me to get, back into a corporate setting. And I started with them, and here I am 18 and a half years later, still working for the largest specialized staffing firm in the world.
And one of the best.
And one of the best.
Okay, I am in shock. Oh,
It's a crazy world. I've not even thrown a few other things in there that would make your head spin, but I've had a long, crazy career. But this time with Robert Half has been by far the most fulfilling.
You surely have, because you went from kind of that traditional kind of corporate CPA route. Then you jumped into not only am I going to be an entrepreneur, but the whole food realm.
Yep.
Then
learned a lot. I call it my MBA. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about business. You learn a lot about what's important in life.
You sure do. And it's the best way to learn, because otherwise, how else are you going to really learn? You can read a book, you can watch a podcast, watch this amazing channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow. But when you actually execute what you learn, that's completely different.
Yeah. And you take those lessons and you really apply them for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you surely do. And that's so amazing too, that you reached out to Robert Half. And I think this is really important to point out. And please correct me. It seems as if Robert Half has this model where they're always seeking new talent. There's this opportunity, no matter who you are, where you are in your life, that there may be a place for you. So there's this active funnel of potential talent coming in, which is great for all of us entrepreneurs, because you never know when you need someone. And just because you're not Robert Half doesn't mean you can't mirror some of the things that they're doing. So I love the fact that you went in that route, and then they're like, no, we want you to work for us.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, when I went home, my wife was extremely excited, because she had heard the company. I was sitting there for about 24 hours going, what am I doing? What am I doing? And, because, from my perspective, I was never really a salesperson, right? I was an accountant, and it's a completely different skill set necessary to be, fully in recruiting, because you're always having to produce results. You're always going to have to find new jobs for people to, want to have. And then you have to find the talent internally and get them to at least go on the interview, right? We never push anybody to take a job, but we do a lot of pushing to go on the interview, and so it's kind of a little bit of salesy on both sides of the equation. And if you don't have that internally, recruiting probably is not the right job. For me, I think the main point why I thought it was going to be successful was I had the credibility of being an accountant, placing accounting and finance people for the majority of the roles that we work on, right? So Robert Half is very specialized. Finance, accounting, we have a separate group for IT and a separate group for administration. My group, because we're so tenured here in Central Florida, we have really expanded the box for our clients because we just have a very, very talented group, very tenured group of recruiters that work for me here in Central Florida. And we can go and do HR and supply chain and purchasing and some of the things that are all white collar, back office support roles. And that to me is just an expansion of what I love to do. And that's just learn about business, and really help businesses move to the next level.
And I love that because it is how we move to the next level. I like to look at situations as a who or a how problem. And often it's a who problem, especially when starting out. Even if one has to, you use overseas talent and you pay a nominal rate, you have to do what you need to do. But in order to continuously grow, you're going to need more people to be part of your team.
Yeah, I mean, human capital is the number one success or failure multiplier for sure.
So talk to us about some of those mistakes that you've come across that small businesses make when trying to bring in new talent. What are those top 3 things that you're like, I see this regardless of the position, regardless of where they're located? What are those things?
So probably number one, when we're talking small businesses, small entrepreneurs, right? They're moving, they're shaking, their businesses are evolving. It's like, steering a ship and doing a 180 degree every other day. Right. So in those particular cases, I think the number one hardest thing for entrepreneurs and for small business owners is understanding truly the skill set that they need. Right. And that is a really hard thing because, you'll have a vision of what it might be because a problem comes up and, we need to fill that void. Right. But that's not truly maybe the true identity of what we're looking for or what we need. Right. And so that is a constant evolution. Right. But so pinpointing exactly the skill set that you need, as well as the actual tactical job that they're going to perform. Right. Because sometimes people get so bent out of shape, like I need somebody with SAP, right? Or I need somebody who knows this industry. And, sometimes you just need a really smart person who's willing to dive in, learn, and get up to speed. Because I think the part that a lot of small businesses don't really think about is it has to also be exciting to the candidate to want to learn, to want to grow, right? There's a human element on the other side where they want to actually go into something that, hey, I'm not an expert in this. There's something that I'm going to wake up every morning and try to figure out and learn and develop and grow for myself, right? It's not just cookie cutter, just place a purchasing person who knows this particular software and always, purchases this component part, right? I mean, they could do that in their sleep. Is that really going to attract them to come to your company if you don't offer them anything else? So that would be my number one thing that I think a lot of small businesses don't, maybe have a full understanding of. The second thing is, and this is probably paramount across all size companies, including especially small businesses, is the attraction of candidates, right? It's amazing how much I have seen over 19 years that people who own businesses forget that they were candidates once too, right? And when they were candidates, the things that would get them upset, client not being really nice, in the interview. They didn't feel welcome when they went to the interview. They didn't get a tour of the facility. They were the hiring manager was 15 minutes late and didn't apologize. Like simple human basic attraction points are lost on so many different companies that it really turns the candidate pool off to what would ultimately may have been a very good fit. And then the third thing that is probably, again, paramount, especially in small businesses, is really knowing what kind of culture you want to build internally, and to be able to show candidates the culture of the company, right? It is one thing to do a job. It's the other thing to say that I'm going to be here for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I'll spend more time with you than I will with my family, take away the time we sleep. I'm going to spend more time with my coworkers than anyone else. If it doesn't fit my personality, if it doesn't fit what I want to do for, 9 hours a day, the camaraderie, the interaction, Do we go to lunch every day, 2 days a week? Do we get together for, team building events? Do we have collaborative work meetings? There's so many factors that are beyond just the job responsibility that I think a lot of businesses forget to show, especially if it's in a good light, that they actually have this kind of culture. Show it off.
I love these. I mean, especially number 3, to really show it off. I found that there's often these like assumptions like, oh, well, I'm not like Google, or I'm not like SpaceX. I'm not like this company. What can I do? What can I really show off? But there could be something unique that you do. Like in my flagship company, we were really big on our our togetherness efforts. And so we were doing a lot of volunteering. I paid for the entire team to go on a cruise.
Yeah. Because those are the things that I wish that entrepreneurs would be like, this makes me really attractive. I want to scream this on the mountaintop. When I get companies that give me this information, this is what I lead with, right? Because the job is either going to be something that fulfills them or not. But ultimately, the satisfaction of working at that company is ultimately what's going to make the decision.
It definitely is. And as somebody who's been interviewing candidates that you've provided, and the candidates have been amazing, what I've just found interesting, because this is my first time ever doing something like this. So many of them have jobs, but it's something that so many recruiters teach you, whether it's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's on LinkedIn, or it's on Facebook. And they often teach you it's easier to find a job once you have a job.
Sure.
That's something to keep in mind, because you may have team members right now, even if you're a team of 2, the last thing you want is your team member to be applying for jobs on the job.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
You have 2 different types of candidates, right? You have the candidate who is unemployed, who needs to get money, who has to find some sustenance to pay their bills, and they will take the first thing that is offered them at the right dollar amount, right? And sometimes that works out and sometimes that doesn't, right? The problem with it, and I've had multiple psychological conversations with, unemployed people, is that it is still really important to try to take that mentality out and really try to look at the job for what it is and what it could be. Because jumping around every 6 months, 3 months, it obviously it murders your resume, but it's not good for your psyche either. So to find the right home, you have to take away that feeling of necessity and desperation and really look at a job to make sure it's still the right job for you. And for those who are working, right, they have all of the strength and leverage, because obviously you have to attract them to want to leave their current situation. Right. And I think so many companies lack that ability or just don't do it well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of not always being the best during interviews. So that recommendation really hit. And I would say this also applies to employers too. You can't be desperate.
No, definitely not.
I need somebody. You don't just need anybody.
Nope.
Because then it could easily get to where, and I've had this happen, where you have situations involving money, or there's pending lawsuits, or there are these things that could have been
avoided
by just not being so desperate. And I get it. Like, it's one thing if you're operating a call center, you need seasonal help, and you're like, listen, I'm just going to take the first 100 people, or you need people at an event. I got that. But
100%.
Otherwise, just
slow down. But I'm sure you've had a lot of experience where you've hired somebody you think with one interview is phenomenal, and then 3 weeks later you're like, oh, I didn't see that person. That person was not who interviewed, right? People put on good faces for interviews. People will show you what you want to hear, or tell you what you want to hear, show you what you want to see. One of my recommendations, and I've said this to you before, is once you identify as a small company, this really could apply across the board. Once you identify a really good candidate you think is good, take them to lunch, take them to dinner, get to know the person, let them put their guard down, right? It's worked in both ways for me, right? I've had candidates I've had clients where they've called me up afterwards and like, oh my God, we let the guard down and the guard is not good. Like, the guard should have been kept up. And whatever that was in the interview that we loved is not the person we got to see for 2 hours over lunch, and we would never work with this person for 5 minutes. And the flip side, oh my God, I'm so glad I went to lunch with them. I really got to know them. We have so much in common. We can't wait to work together. It's reaffirmed my love of this candidate, and I can't wait to move forward with, and I have so much more confidence in it.
I love this technique because it's so easy to do. And then, I mean, I'm not saying you should do this one, but I'm just saying, I know of companies who they love to include alcohol situation where maybe it's a dinner meeting, because then they want to kind of test how you are with alcohol. So
and a professional setting, and see if you've got restraint or you just get totally you know what and act like an idiot. But it could be as simple as going to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I mean, these things don't have to be extreme, but you have to get to know people, right? Like I said before, you spend more time with them than you do with your family at home. So you better find a way to work well together.
Yeah, you definitely do, because what'll end up happening is it's going to cost you.
Totally. The cost to continuously rehire is so high, and it's so distracting, and it's such a negative impact on the business.
It's especially for government contractors, because for many of us, we have people doing the thing, whether it's flooring, it's roofing, it's nursing, it's admin work. Even if you bring them on as a 1099, they still have to perform. The last thing that you want is to tell a client, oh yeah, I had brought in this roofing company and they've ghosted me. I mean, you never want to be able to do that. So the same thing applies. Even if it's not someone you're looking to bring on as a full-time employee, all of these suggestions are so beautiful. What are some other things that small business owners can do to avoid some of these pitfalls that they find themselves in?
It's really important when you frame out a job, right, is to frame it in the sense of, this is what I would like the person to be able to do. And I think we touched upon this a little bit in the beginning. This is what I want them to do, but I am also looking for a certain personality type, a certain work ethic, a certain, one of the things that we talked about at one point, you're very goal oriented, right? And so you like to make checklists and knock those things right off and be, and put goals ahead that that if you achieve them, you feel very, just feel a stronger sense of being, right? And I think that there's a part of job recruiting and bringing people in that part is so not thought about enough. Like, what would you want as an entrepreneur? A Kizzy Jr., a Kizzy 2.0, or is it, hey, I need someone who's more yin and yang to me, right? Somebody who pulls me in when I'm going, crazy and trying to do too much, Like, everybody has that person who probably will be the right type of running mate if it's your right hand, or if it's a culture you've built and the team is all interactive, an introvert is probably not going to play well. If that's something that you need them to be very team oriented and collaborative, or if you need somebody who just goes and crunches out invoices all day long and never picks their head up, then, get a seat in the corner and get somebody who's great at it and loves it and doesn't want to talk to anyone and puts their headphones in, right? It's really important to understand some of the nuances beyond the talent piece. The talent piece is the easiest piece, right? We call that the science. It's the art of recruiting that everybody screws up.
Oh, yeah. I love that. It is. Been guilty.
Yeah. We all have been.
So much that I turn it over to my team, and oh my gosh, I missed it. I love that, the art of. And that's really, really key too, because I don't need any more Kizzies. I have enough Kizzy types on my team, but it's also being aware and having your ego down or gone to come to terms with, oh, it's okay if I have a team member who really likes to work with their earbuds on, or somebody who really prefers to be more introverted. Mm-hmm. Because often it's we're kind of trying to make them all like us, or we may think why aren't they putting in as much time and effort as I am? I own this company, and why should they? We own the company. It's on us to provide for them. They're helping us accomplish our goals, so we in turn need to help accomplish their goals. And if someone really likes to be able to work the way that they want to work and they've expressed what their goals and desires are, then by all means, go for it.
And the other thing is how you create the image of the company, right? So whether it's the website, whether it's your, page on Indeed, if you use Indeed, or LinkedIn, if you have a page on Glassdoor, there's so much about image that is important for the consumer or the candidate. right? So I look at it things like, when you talk about how do I get a new customer, the same things apply to how do I go and get a new candidate, right? I want them to know that we're the best company out there. I want them to know why that we're different than the competitors. I want them to know why people are attracted to stay and retain here, right? So these are the things that are so coexistent in both the going out and getting more business and going out and attracting candidates to come work for you. And I think sometimes companies spend so much time to acquire a business that they forget it's the same process to go find talent.
And you totally read my mind, because I was going to ask about the job description and things like that. I think that even trumps the job description. Job description, that's the technical piece, but if you don't really have a business website or your page on one of these recruiting websites is a bit questionable, then what's going to happen is someone's going to think, oh, it's a scam. This is a scam. And we've actually had people, and we have all of this, even with this, people are still on alert because we live in a society where scams are profiled. So we've had candidates who have reached out and said, hey, by the way, I just want to confirm that this is a legitimate job.
Yep.
And I would say you can't even get upset at that, because people are often targeted who are responding to these announcements. So it's a play of make sure you have all of these things put together, and then also be prepared to respond to them and to not get annoyed or get frustrated or think like, why would I want to scam you? It's like, you got to let it all go. It's putting yourself in their position. We all, one point in time, applied for a job, regardless of that job. And we want to be treated with dignity and respect.
100%. It's interesting. I use LinkedIn a lot, right? So I go out and I reach prospective candidates or, passive candidates and kind of give them a little nudge, say, I've got a great job I want to talk to you about, right? They get this email from 5,000 recruiters, across the country all the time. So, how do I differentiate myself? One of the ways that I specifically differentiate myself was specifically saying which client I was working for. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to waste your time. I am specifically been engaged by a client to find you, Mr. Candidate, Mrs. Candidate, right? I think that based on your profile, based on what I can see, on the periphery, it looks like it could warrant a really important conversation, right? But I get so much responses that are like, wow, you're so transparent that I actually called you back, right? Because most people are just, I think, just hitting quotas or wanting to reach out to me because it's part of their job. Like, no, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. This is why I'm excited to bring XYZ company to you, and I think the same thing has to happen when candidates start to do their own due diligence and look at the XYZ companies to see if they are, like you said, legit, and are they offering something that I would be excited to join?
Definitely. And that's one thing why I like our working relationship, because you're transparent, you're a partner. I've come
100%.
across all different types of recruiters just in general in my life, and it just seemed very transactional, or the role that they described was very transactional. They were brought in to hire a bunch of people, and then they moved on to the next contract. And I'm looking for a partner, because we're not a transactional kind of company. We don't have that kind of environment. We tout ourselves on having a turnover rate of less than 3% at my flagship company, KPC. So I really love that. Talk to us about the importance of having LinkedIn profiles. Should those who are watching this create a company page? Is having an individual page? Is this something that they don't even need? Talk to us about the importance of LinkedIn and all of this.
So back when I started at Robert Half, right? Robert Half became the largest specialized staffing firm because we had the largest database, right? So before the commoditization of the internet and all the different firms out there that put together abilities to attract and aggregate resumes or profiles, at Robert Half, we had millions of people in our database. So when the world changed and LinkedIn came out and Indeed came out and ZipRecruiter came out and all these things you hear every day on the radio or the TV, it has changed the landscape of how easy it is for you to be found if you want to be found, right? If you are not utilizing a LinkedIn with a profile page, or having, again, if you're looking beyond that to work with a recruiter, so that you can see the things that aren't posted, or maybe concurrently posted. But, that LinkedIn page for the candidate is a beacon for people to reach out to. Me, you, anybody, right? I mean, the small business owner wants to take the time to look for people in their industry, for the recruiter to go out and find them, for companies, internal recruiters to go and find them. it's a tremendous tool that allows you to go and find people that have put themselves out there and have given enough information on their LinkedIn recruiting page or a personal page to show like, this is my background, this is my skill set, this is, and that you could even tell, the world that you're looking for a job if you are, so it's an amazing tool. The businesses, you're right, to have a page to basically for people to go and say, okay, I want to look this company up, that has a link to your website, that has some really cool videos or blogs about for instance, like your volunteerism, or when the companies get together, or even when you guys were all on the cruise together, right? I mean, this is, again, like, this is the culture that makes you're differentiating your company from somebody else's.
Yeah. And I love that. And with all of the added features, like, I'm not sure how long this feature will remain, but you can change the color of the outer perimeter of the circle that says hiring or looking for employment, open to work. I love that. So it's so many options. And I believe that you can even have a company page for free. It's just that if you want logo and other things to show up, you may have to pay. I'm not exactly sure, but I personally love LinkedIn. Are you comfortable with our amazing GovCon winners, everyone here, connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Definitely. The more the merrier. I connect with everybody.
Okay, good.
Because in my world, right, you just never know who knows who and who I can help and what jobs come in. Like I said, we do a lot of out of the box jobs. So I've helped people in a lot of different capacities, learning, training and development, IT. I once placed a copywriter, an operations manager. I mean, like, we get some crazy jobs, but the beauty of having as much tenure as we do is we get repeat clients that say, you've done such a great job filling my accountant and my AP clerk. I have this other job over here that might not be what you normally do, and we want to help the client out.
And that's what I found, because when I first started out over 15 years ago, I actually worked with interns through my alma mater. So they were unpaid because they were through an actual formal program that they needed to complete before degree. And then as time went on, we would always go through an Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster back in the day. We would always go through those types of sites. And just now, I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? We need to do something different, because I just want different type of talent, because we've evolved.
And Kizzy, there's a lot of other things you can do as a business owner or as a hiring manager. It doesn't just have to be put a job posting on LinkedIn or call Noel at Robert Half, right? I mean, there's so many other ways. Number one, every school has an outplacement group internally, UCF, FSU, all the major colleges, especially here in Central Florida. But every school has an outplacement group, right? Who loves to get involved with businesses that need to help, bring people together. Right. So either outgoing graduates and people who are in graduate school, people who are coming to school at night who, have a lot of experience but are finishing their degree or what have you. So the schools can also play a great role in helping identify talent for you. Right. The second one is, going to, it's always interesting when people are like, well, I go to the job fair and I get a booth, and I'm like, I'm sorry for job fairs. I don't think it's the best use of time, because what you're hoping for is that somebody with the exact skill you're looking for, with the exact, intention that they want to be at your type of company, walks up to your booth with the resume, you shake hands, and oh my God, it was like kismet, right? It just doesn't happen very often. Instead of the job fair, go to a networking event within the specifications of what you're interested in attracting, right? Like if you need software development people, go to a local software development networking event, right? And talk about your company and, oh my God, we're doing amazing things. And if you know anybody that might be interested, we're adding software developers. And next, you might get a few cards slipped to you at, during cocktail hour. So it's a matter of putting yourself in positions to actually meet the right people, then hoping the right people come to you.
Oh man, those are diamonds. I hope everyone watching, you have written those down, because there are so many different events, even if the event is virtual, because there's a group of people who are always seeking new opportunities. And especially like if you're looking for someone in IT, you're looking for a copywriter, you're looking for somebody in social media, attend one of the events. Like even here in this small town here in Michigan, they're having this random event tonight for people in social media. And hey, if you were seeking somebody in social media, this would be a great event for you to attend, get their contact information, because you never know. I love that. And it doesn't even cost that much.
No, but the key to success is you have to put yourself out there. You can't go to these events and sit in the corner, have a drink and watch, and people watch. That won't get you anywhere. So if you're going to go there, have your business cards, your digital business card, your paper, and go and shake some hands and talk to some people.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, you can't.
No. I'll go to these events and I'll see people sitting in the corner. I'm like, is this just to get away from your spouse tonight? Or is this like, come on, go start talking to people.
Hey, who knows?
I don't know. You never know.
I don't know. For those of you who you truly want to grow your team and or you're looking for talent to potentially fill opportunities that are out there for the federal government or state or local, putting yourself out there is vital. You have to do that.
Yeah. One more that I just came into my mind also is, depending on the size of your team, right? Sometimes the best referrals come from your own employees, right? And incentivize them to bring talent to the company, right? Because number one, if they're going out and putting and searching out people or talking to people, they're obviously talking about how good the environment is, the culture is. So you already have that internal attraction point. And then you're hopefully getting like-minded individuals, who have also maybe, the same ideas of what they want to do. And it just, there's a lot of success when there's employees are involved in bringing other people in to help grow the business or fill roles that are desperately needed.
Definitely. And it makes them feel really proud. They're satisfied that they're able to help you grow. We've done this with some of our positions and it works out really, really well. We even do this with 1099. I can't emphasize enough. All of these strategies apply whether you're looking for somebody to work for you full time, whether you're looking for 1099 or you're just looking for somebody on some type of one-off, but we are always asking for referrals. And the key is, to your point, it has to be a high performer, somebody that you want more of, because we attract like-minded people. And so if there's somebody who you want fewer of them, then make sure that they're not the individual providing referrals.
100%.
So, as we kind of come to a close here, what is the best way for all my amazing GovCon winners, everyone here watching, to connect with you?
So either directly on LinkedIn, so it's Noel, Noel, Tiell, or it is my first name dot last name at roberthalf.com is my email.
And Robert Half sounds like a person.
Halftime, yeah. Well, he was. It's interesting. We've been around for 73 years. We only have had 3 CEOs.
Whoa. Anybody else blown away? Because I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect this. Say it, 73 years.
Yep. So trade on New York Stock Exchange, been around for 73 years. Bob Half started the company up in upstate New York. After he passed, Max Mesmer became our CEO until he retired. And now our CFO became CEO, Keith Weidel. And that's it. That's it in the history.
That speaks volumes.
Yep.
Take that in. You are getting knowledge here from someone connected to the who's who of placement. I mean, to have 3 CEOs in over 70 years, I mean, there are some companies that probably have 3 CEOs in a year and a half.
Yep.
I mean, that is tremendous. Wow.
Yep.
I am so honored to have you here.
Hey, I'm just trying to pick out the little tidbits that would impress you.
No, they do. They impress me. I know they impress everybody because I find that I get in this bubble. And maybe those of you watching can relate. And then it's like, oh, now I got to hire you. and it's like, okay, instead of that, it's like there are strategies that are out there that are almost free or they're low cost. And then there are these amazing options that Robert have for those of you who are in a different...
Kizzy, I'll leave your audience with this. Every time you hire, every time you interview, remember that you could be that person on the other side and treat them the way that you would want to be treated. Be there on time. If you're not going to be there on time, give them a quick message. Hey, wrapping up a call. I'm going to be 3 minutes late to the video call. Be there and show them how excited you are that they took their time out of their day to come talk to you, because a lot of these people are working. And so they're taking time out of their day. They're probably making some excuse that they've got to get away for an hour, or they're in person leaving, work early for, whatever appointment. But at the end of the day, they're taking time out of their busy schedule to give you some really strong consideration, right? And then don't forget to really show them everything you're proud that the company has become, everything that you're proud to be associated with the company. All those things are so important. This is what candidates want to see. This is the thing that changes, in a market like we're in right now, where candidates have tremendous opportunities, right? If you're a staff accountant right now, you're getting 10 calls a week. You could have 5 offers by the end of the week if you're a talented staff accountant. You, the client, have to differentiate yourself and show them why you want to go to XYZ company. Why do you want them to come to you? And that can't just be on the merits of your big company, your established company. You think that they should thank you for the job opportunity. That's not the world we live in.
I love that. Those are great words to end by. So Noel, thank you so much for being here.
Definitely.
And thank you all my amazing GovCon winners for watching, liking, subscribe. And for those who are new, my name is Dr. Kizzy Parks. I go by Kizzy and been awarded well over $70 million of federal government contracts. And everything is possible. So take care, everyone.